Welcome back, our dear viewers, to this episode of The Breakfast Show. As we have spoken earlier about the two topics we're going to be speaking about, the first one is about the presidential achievements over the past 10 years. We're coming to the end of 2024 now, and I think it is the perfect time to be shedding light on the achievements of the President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi over the past 10 years. In this matter, we have on the phone with us Dr. Nabil Nagm. He's a journalist and writer specialized in special international relations. Good morning, Dr. Nabil.
Good morning to you.
Happy New Year, and I hope you're doing great.
Well, thank you.
At first, we need to learn more about the most important axes in the achievements of Egypt throughout the past 10 years.
To be honest with you, that President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has adeptly guided Egypt's foreign policy through a turbulent region and international restless climate. His efforts has protected national security and advanced Egypt's interest while maintaining a stability and the safety of the people of Egypt. President Sisi has adopted can you call it, a very aggressive foreign policy strategy, including a statistical overview of his activities since June 14th. Mr. Sisi has strengthened Egypt's position regionally and globally, enhancing its presence in various forms and fortifying bilateral relations. This approach has yielded significant success for Egypt's security, stability, and development.
That's true. How do you believe, could you please elaborate on how the president made sure that Egypt is much more like a powerhouse now in the region? This has been changed dramatically and in a very significant way. How do you elaborate on that?
I can say that during the last 10 years, if a president could manage to do almost 170 foreign visits over the past 10 years,
that's true.
10 visits in the 10th year alone, during the period of June 14th to April 24, he visited 57 countries across the various continents, including 8 countries in the 10th year alone. The Arab world, Europe, Asia, and Africa. Throughout those visits, President Sisi engaged in summit meetings and bilateral talks with various leaders, in addition to numerous meetings with the heads of major international organizations and global economic institutions. To do that, you can understand that when he meets such number of presidents and prime ministers and head of international organizations, it automatically positions Egypt at its natural place. If you could imagine that 45 European head of states, Mr. Sisi has visited them and had talks with them. 34 African states, about 23 Asian states. He visited the United States 9 times in total, including 6 trips in New York City for the United Nations General Assembly sessions. I can say very clearly, no other president has managed to do that effort, and I believe very much Egypt now is occupying its natural position regionally and internationally.
Dr. Nabil, since we've been talking and mentioning the president's meetings and traveling around so many countries, recently he visited the Scandinavian countries, Denmark and Norway and other countries. Could you please tell us more about this trip and how it's going to affect Egypt on a strategic and political as well as economical level?
The last tour, the European tour, was the first at all in the history of Egyptian foreign policy. His Excellency, Mr. Sisi, visited Norway, Ireland, and Denmark.
Yes.
What happened in those 3 states? There was something very unique and special. If the king receives the president in the weekend, in a very casual way. The first time a Denmark king could receive a foreign statesman in the weekend. The importance of that trial tour is Denmark has great record of achieving developing plans in its country. Ireland is well known for its respectful stance toward the Palestinian issues. Norway is a country where has hosted the last Palestinian-Israeli peace talks. For sure, the talks of President Sisi during those visits concluded three things. First, supporting the developing plans of Egypt. Second, supporting the Palestinian people and the Palestinian issue. Number three, cooperating with the green energy. So I believe very much Mr. Sisi, with this last 3-year visit, has added a plus to the Egyptian foreign policy.
That's true. Speaking of the of Gaza and the current situation in the region, it's quite very heavy. And I was wondering, how was the efforts of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi? How can we see his efforts, and would you elaborate on his efforts to reach a ceasefire in Gaza and make the region a lot more safer than it is now?
Okay, the Palestinian issue occupies a very, very special point in the Egyptian strategic policies. Mr. Sisi has met President Mahmoud Abbas 31 times.
Yes.
This in turn demonstrates that Egypt, or President Sisi, strong commitment to the Palestinian cause. He has made almost 1,350 phone calls to different leaders around the world. And the message is very simple: to achieve a just solution that recognizes the Palestinian people's right to establish an independent state along the June 4th, 1967 borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital, while upholding the historical and legal status of Jerusalem in line with international references and UN resolution. President Sisi intensive activity during the last 3-4 months to stop the miserable war on Gaza. He has made 10 foreign visits to 8 countries, especially for this issue, across 4 regions: Arab states, Europe states, and African states. I think that the Egyptian role in mediating between Hamas and Israel in cooperation with Qatar and USA is highly affecting 2 things: that what's going on from the government of Israel is not accepted. Egypt is not accepting that. And number 2, this war has got to come to an end, because the misery of the about 2.5 or 3 million Palestinians is unacceptable.
Dr. Nabil, back locally, how do you think the President El-Sisi is going to achieve more great achievements for Egypt over the next year and more years to come?
I would like to make it clear that the last 10 years of Sisi's presidency was to lay out the foundation of a modern state.
That's true.
Those infrastructure projects which has been accomplished all over Egypt, from Aswan to Marsa Matruh, is a very, very significant achievement. I believe very much what has been done in the infrastructure level has not been done for the last 100 years in Egypt. Now it is the turn of the Egyptian cabinet to capitalize on that the Prime Minister, the ministers, the governors has got to capitalize on such infrastructure projects and has got to work really hard to raise the living standards of the Egyptians. And this is exactly the aim of those 10 good years, to have a modern, strong state where Egyptian individual could go and find a job, go and live his life in a better way. This is the whole issue. So I believe very much the next 5 years will see great changes in the daily life of the Egyptians, that provided that the ministers and the prime ministers are really doubling their efforts.
Dr. Nabil, what, in your opinion, what do you think were the most challenging things that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi had to face and had successfully actually overcame them? And are we going to expect seeing those challenges in the next 5 years, or are they going to be gone by then?
I believe very much the most challenge, or the biggest challenge, was those attempts to isolate Egypt. After the disturbance during 2011 and 2012, and those attempts to isolate and divide this great country, President Sisi managed to pass by those plots and managed to restore stability in this country. And this is a great asset. Egypt is an unstable country, and this is not really something to ignore. And I believe very much after achieving that, he started to lay out the foundation for modern Egypt, and I think the work is still going on, and challenges are still there.
Dr. Nabil, the President al-Sisi had made a historic visit to Turkey. Could you please tell us more about it before we end this phone call?
I think the visits in June 23, for example, he went to France.
Yes.
Then he went to July 23 to Kenya. After that, September 23 to United Arab Emirates, India, Saudi Arabia, Jordan. And talking about Jordan, there is a very special relation between Egypt and Jordan, because the links between those two states are very deep. And I would like to say that during this period, President Sisi participated in 13 summits and forums, including the new Global Financing Pact summit in France, and the African Union coordination meetings in Kenya, which included a session on environment and climate change. In Russia, he attended the second African-Russian summit, which is held in July 23. I believe very much during his regional and international tours, President Fattah al-Sisi engaged in over 50 meetings, including summits, bilateral talks with global leaders, senior officials, and heads of government, as well as representatives from major international organizations and institutions. All that to enhance bilateral cooperation and exchange views on pressing regional and global issues.
Dr. Nabil, thank you so much for this information. We had over the phone with us Dr. Nabil Nagm. He's a journalist and writer specialized in international relations, and he gave us lots of insights on the presidential file and the achievements of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi over the 10 years. We're going to carry on to our next topic about Mohamed Salah and his achievements in the world of football, but right after this break.